Welcome to the General's Quarters. Please be seated. I am Social General Rob. Today we have an interview with Rob, also known as InRobWeTrust, on Star Wars Armada Discord. Rob sells mats for various games and the urban planet map, which is all seen on our bat reps. Welcome to the Downsize the channel. Is there anything? I'm sorry. It's an honor to have you here.
Thank you.
How long have you been playing Armada?
My good friend Sean from Alamo City Fleet Command.
Yes.
I was hanging out at his house one day, and he's like, "Hey, there's this cool Star Wars game," and I've been hooked ever since. I want to say that was 2017.
It's about around time Ben started. Ben
Yeah,
started.
it was before the Super Star Destroyer,
Mhm.
and after a good number of the expansions had already come out.
Yeah, that's cool. So, what's your favorite faction? Out of all
I
of them?
think I like, like the most popular ship in the game right now, I think is the Imperial Star Destroyer.
Yep.
Those angry space triangles really just do it for me. So, I'm an Empire player, but I've experimented around with the other factions. Yeah.
Oh, cool. So, in the LSO, you played against Ben, and with the Separatist, you played Trench.
Yes.
Against his Thrawn list, which was actually very interesting because Trench and Thrawn are similar but not quite the same.
Yeah.
But what was it like to play against Ben, first of all?
Well, I'd seen his videos and I'd seen him go through his list, and it's I was showing my friend as we were driving up here. I'm like, look at this guy. He's flying double Star Destroyers in this meta.
Yep.
I'm gonna beat him, and not so much. But I thought it was really interesting the way a lot of people do a lot of different bat reps, and they'll switch between things very quickly, or maybe they don't get the rules quite right when they're trying to go through so much content. So it really struck me as like someone who really cares when they're going through that many iterations of the list, which is something that I do too. I have to spend a lot of time on a list.
Yeah, and that's one thing he's loved. He loves Thrawn, and that's like his main man. And he wanted to perfect it, as many people told him, bring what you know. And so he knows
Yeah, I
Thrawn,
think
and so that's why he brought. This was his very first real tournament to go
right.
to. So, how many tournaments have you been to?
Oh, gee. Well, I try to do my store tournament, which is once every 2 months, pandemic or not. So I don't know. I'd probably say at least a dozen tournaments.
Wow.
Because I try to get in some playtime on Tabletop Simulator. At least once every 2 or 3 months, they have a tournament that gets hosted there.
Nice.
It's very fun. There's a very big international community, so yeah.
Well, you had been nervous, I will tell you that.
I think so.
Those
The
hyena
Separatist
bombers,
list,
man.
Right. So that list, I completely net decked that one from a user named Large Package on the DTS Discord.
Okay.
So there are 11 squadrons in that list.
Wow.
In Tabletop Simulator, you have some amazing things that can help you. If a squad moves, say, distance 4, you can just drag your mouse all the way to the corner of the screen, but the squadron will only go, towards its maximum, and there are a lot of automated features that help out. Over the table, man, those things were falling apart, and I did wait, which one is that one versus that? Oh, did I just send in a bomber to attack the fighters? And
they all look the same.
Stressful on my part.
They really all look the same.
Yeah, I've had my Empire squadrons long enough to kind of paint some of them.
Yeah.
And so I haven't had a chance to do that with the new CIS stuff. What I would say though is there's definitely a lot of little nuances. The way that Trench works compared to
Thrawn.
I think they're both. So they're both very similar in that they give your ship a dial that they don't reveal themselves, right? And,
yes.
So I think on paper, Trench is more powerful than Thrawn. Trench gives 4 dials throughout the game. Thrawn only gives 3.
Yes, true.
Off the top of my head, I believe Thrawn is 32 points, Trench is 30. So there's a cost difference there.
The extra dial, probably, yeah.
And what else? I think that the Separatist ships right now, when you look at their ship cards, they have more flak. They have a little bit more dice. The
Yes.
base versions of these ships
Right.
have more features than some of the Empire ships. And so that made me think, oh, Trench is going to be way better. But there's a drawback to him as well, where you have to be very meticulous about planning ahead of time. You have to have a token on your ship of the matching type of the trench dial in order to
Oh,
gain that trench dial. So you get a
squadron
face-up
thing.
crit that discards
Yeah.
your tokens.
Uh-huh.
You can't use trench, or
Right.
if you don't plan out the right one at the right time.
Oh,
There are
wow.
cards like Rune Hako and Tikas
Yeah.
that will assist you and kind of, but you can only have those on one or two of your ships, and maybe you want a different officer instead.
Officer. Yeah.
So more powerful, but a lot less flexible. And I think that the way Ben in that game was just able to kind of get engineering out of thin air. I'm sure that definitely helped him. And so I think it's just down to preference, really, if which one you want, which I think is a really good balance spot for the game to be in.
But one thing we did notice that the new Clone Wars sets coming out compared to the Rebel and Empire sets was that they seem to be more complicated in general.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a step up in play, like a little more complicated in play.
I think so. I
A
think
lot more tokens and.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. The way they use tokens are more symbolic. I think, FFG has a lot of like board game kind of background. So like being able to use those tokens as indicators or markers rather than like tokens in the game, I think that is definitely increased. It does get kind of confusing when you're playing, like, which one goes where. And I think that's especially true for the Republic, all those clone navigators and clone gunners, kind of like passing ammunition around. It's something that I wanted to do CIS because they seem a lot more straightforward. And I like they're always, they're kind of focus on offense.
Yes, they do seem to, and it seems like the Republic is focused on defense more. Well, kind of.
I mean, I like the way that it seems like the Republic has a lot of things, hallmarks from the Rebellion and the Empire, that you would be able to pick up easily. They have a very nice large base ship and the best squadrons in the game, I would say. But
definitely, yeah.
You look at the arc lines of the Munificent, where you can be pointed straight at somebody and double arcing them. I think that there's a lot of things that the CIS do that are unique, and I wanted to play something different when the new expansions came out. So I thought that was just really cool.
Definitely. So we live streamed Mercury Fleet's commands onto our channel, Downsize the channel, and we were able to see you and Jason play on table 1. And then this is with the Texas opening. But how was it playing Onager versus Onagers?
So
that were like, wow.
I saw you guys. You're kind of freaking out about the complete mirror match.
Yes, I mean it was like it was a shootout. Basically, OK Corral, basically.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I think I'm trying to remember. So the first time I played that list was in an online tournament. It was like last year, so it was like during the middle of the pandemic, and people were kind of really wanting to get some games in. And I had played against Jason in our store tournament just the week before.
Oh wow!
And Jason played that list, that double onager list, Intel Officer, what do you call it, Gunner Chief Armillion.
Oh yeah, she's great. I love her. She's
Veteran
awesome.
Gunners and the Red Crit, and Cataclysm, and then same stuff on the other one. He played that in the store tournament. At the very last, round of the store tournament. I faced off against him, and he absolutely just destroyed me, doing donuts around the rift, and shot me to pieces.
I mean, he moves really incredible.
Absolutely. And so I took that as a learning opportunity.
You did.
If you can't beat him, join him.
Exactly.
And so I flew that list in the tournament, and I placed pretty well, but I made a couple of little mistakes. And so I saw this as an opportunity. Okay, I'll fly this again, and try and refine it a little bit more, refine my play a little more. And so I think it's just so poetic that I end up fighting against Jason, the mastermind of the list, himself for the final round.
Yeah.
And came just so close to beating him. It was
really
you did.
Close. I mean, it was a really close game. It was really good. I do have to ask.
I think.
Oh, good.
Oh, okay. Sure. One thing you're talking about, I remember from the commentary, is like, oh, they just spent 20 minutes on deployment. Like, what is going on? And when you start shooting at round one, it's so important. There were little things that we were measuring. Like, I had placed one of my onagers down, and Jason very smartly, he put his onager, which was likely to be the objective ship, directly in front of my non-cataclysm onager. So I could not place my second onager, which is cataclysm, in a position where it could shoot his cataclysm on turn 1, but also be distance 1 away from all of my own ships, so that I didn't hit the splash damage, right?
Exactly. And that's difficult.
There's a lot of furious measuring and stuff going on, because those little 2 damage hits really add up.
I think that's one thing that we don't see when we play our casual games and such, that we don't realize how much pressure the tournament players are on at that point, where they're like, okay, we don't want to just place a ship within 1 inch, or close range of the other onager is going to get hit, and then we all get hit. You want to play it so you can last longer, and that way you can make more points and stuff like that. So I think that was a difference that some of us were seeing. We're like, well, come on, put it faster. And Ben's like, no, wait, they gotta watch. They gotta watch what they're playing, because at least he was at the LSO and he learned by that. So
let's see here. Talking about deployment.
There we go.
I want to go over one of my matches, which was against someone who was their first. I don't remember what city they're from.
Okay.
But they're telling me, like, oh, this event is like, this is my first time playing in a really big tournament, and this is my first time playing against onagers, and I felt really bad for this guy, but maybe talk about some of his mistakes.
Sure.
We both had a couple of Gozantis in play, but the main ships were really what matters. So generally speaking, with a double onager, you kind of deploy in a wide area. He had a lot of squadrons with his Sloan kind of 2-ship list. And so he out-deployed me. And if you're in a situation where you out-deploy somebody, and here's my one onager that he's placing down, where should you put your ships, And he had his Star Destroyer over here, which is fine. I think doing a flanking maneuver would really help.
But
there's a little secret when you if you deploy against the back edge, you will be out of range of any onager's ability to shoot you on turn 1. So measured here, you can keep your area safe for round or 2. But he deployed right here on the distance 3 line. And I was just like a huge negative, because now both of my onagers could shoot at him. It's just like filling his quasar, with holes like Swiss cheese. And that put him in a negative spot with all of his squadrons. So for us, like for me, I just done that to somebody else. I'm like trying really hard to make sure that doesn't happen in me and Jason's mirror match. There was a moment where he was measuring, between my ship and my Gozanti, he's like really debating taking a shot at a squadron, or excuse me, yeah, to splash the squadrons that were next to my Gazanti.
Right.
When you're deploying, even that you have to take very seriously against
Yeah,
double
you do.
because the splash is coming turn one. And yeah, it's just kind of a very interesting thing when you have someone make a decision like that. Usually with a double onager fleet, you're just trying to joust and if you can kill the others faster than yours, then you get the tabling and stuff like that. So anyway, was there any specific questions you had about me and Jason's match that I could go over?
No, I mean, we're just amazed about everything, how it went and how great it went. He seemed to really move quickly. He used that rift, like you said. He really used the rift really well. But no, we were just amazed by it and stuff, and we could see what both you guys are doing. We really could, but unfortunately, I think he had you outmaneuvered because of the rift, if I remember correctly.
We were playing most wanted, so the rift wasn't
Most
necessarily
wanted.
in play.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
But let me see if I can just pull out some objectives real quick. Oh, no, we want these, yeah.
No problem.
So we're both playing Ramadi, so the obstacles kind of come in a lot.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. We had a couple in the middle. Yes, there's this one right here and right here. So I did my maneuvers. I wanted to spread out, but not too far. The main thing was that I knew I needed to kill his objective ship without letting it get away. When you have engine techs, that's now a speed 4 ship that you have. I think it ended up looking something like this.
That looks about right. Yeah.
Yeah, and then his ship was right about here. I think they were a little closer together.
Not much, because he did have one further away, which at first we're like, wow, that's going to be easy for Rob to get over there and just blow one ship up.
Right. Right. And then I think on his first move he spent the speed 3 and had like this. And so the main thing was, what it came down to is if Jason's ship, if he had taken his engine techs, with a little turn at the end or not, because the ability for his ship to fit was just so minusculely blocked. It's really something that's difficult to do with the maneuver chart of an onager because it has that native 1-click at the first, which gives it the most displacement possible. If you're trying to jump over somebody, you want to take those clicks, at the beginning of your maneuver tool, because that will move you the farthest away. So with, I know that he's always going to have the ability to shoot and move before me. I knew I was going to lose one of my onagers, but it's just a question of, can I shoot his and get away? Right. So he ended up trying to do a move because he realized he couldn't get out towards this direction. He's trying to do kind of like a dogleg maneuver where he displaces this way. And he actually got around my first onager here, but collided with the outer edge onager and had to move back.
Yep.
And that kind of doomed it.
It did.
Now, so I second activate with my I can't remember which. This is my non-cataclysm onager, and then he third activation to kill my non-cataclysm onager. When they take shots to the side, just 2 shields.
Yeah, there's not much. Yeah.
Surprisingly able to generate accuracy. So after he does his shot, he moves up, and I'm trying to think here. It wasn't a very tight turn at all, but just something like this, where he's like right in front of the obstacle.
Yes. Yeah, he was able to use the obstacle. We both were able to use the obstacles, actually.
Let's see if I can remove this.
You did far better than Ben and I. We can never use Ramadi right. We don't.
There's a little bit about it really turns that that kind of boring, like, oh, I'll place this thing here, I'll place that thing there. It turns
Yeah.
into a strategic kind of thing. So the thing is, I had a Confire dial and no tokens on my remaining onager, and because of because of the obstruction, I didn't need the third extra die of the concentrate fire die. In a way, that was waste, and what I really needed to do was a maneuver, because what do you need to do as an onager? You need to shoot and you need to move. And I ended up just shooting. So I was going speed 2 at the time. I think I landed on the rock, right? It was just like really nasty, because here I am, I'm going to side shot, and there's nothing that I can do about it.
Yeah.
He shoots me one, and then an onager can take maybe 2 shots from another, maybe it'll die on the third. When he moves right here, I know that I'm kind of screwed, because there's no way that I would be able to clear his ignition arc and like be in a suitable position. He's going to be able to activate again. He even had a couple of confires on the Gazantes that stripped my shields away. I ended up doing like this, I believe, and then I was blocked by which was really just kind of insidious, because I can't turn towards the current corner of the map. We still have 2 more rounds to go, and my one shield on the real zone is not going to stand up to that firepower. Though it was just over because of his ability to stay on target, and just that one little extra maneuver. You know what they say: always be navigating. The navigate is the best command, and I really should have stuck to that. And it was just that one little bit.
Yeah,
very close game.
One thing I gotta learn too is always be navigating as well. I messed up several times, and Ben's like, always be navigating. Of course, he's using Thrawn to do only squadrons, and so
yeah, easy for him to say he's got it too. Yeah. So that's a little bit of a nuance there. I think that a lot of people are very critical of the onager because it seems very easy to just throw some dice at your enemies from long range, but in reality, 4 red dice does not amount to very much. Especially because when you're taking that cataclysm shot, that's the only piece of damage that you're taking that turn, so you have the opportunity to use all of your defensive tokens and repair that damage over time. And with the double onager, you really have to be extremely careful about focusing your fire on the same target, and when you use veteran gunner, there's no going back. Once you re-roll all of those, once you scoop all those dice up,
that's it.
You could bomb again even harder. So you have to be very well practiced about, counting out damage and making sure that you're maximizing that. I think it's a different kind of fun. Compare that to maybe like an Akbar list where you're just trying to load up as much dice as possible. It's a very different kind of thing.
Yeah, I tried a double onager list for practice against Ben, and wow, that did not go well. He just swooped in around both sides with his, and that was it. We let's see, he had Thrawn and his Quasar, and a bunch of fighters, and so I aimed one of them. I think it was Screed I was using, I think, and I aimed one at the Quasar, and the other one at Thrawn. And I was trying to block Thrawn with that other one, and I just didn't turn enough. I needed to, but Screed was able to turn at the end and turn a little bit, kind of behind the other onager, and Ben was in basically double arced a couple times by the sides and the front of Screed and the second onager, and Thrawn went down, but he still won because he just took me apart with fighters because I couldn't turn back around.
Right.
That was the problem.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
I think that the engine checks really helps the onager because natively it does not get a click at the last yaw join. Speed 3, so being able to kind of go speed forward, get that one more quick, can really be a big influence on its ability to turn around. And I think, like, yeah, definitely, if you're not applying the pressure of multiple attacks to the same target, then that really lowers your effectiveness.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting idea.
That's what he said. He said, listen, you can go after this or this. What do you want to go after, Thrawn or the Quasar? And I thought, well, if I go after the Quasar, I can knock out his fighters. You know, they won't be that, he'll be a tough time bringing them closer. And I thought, well, I got to stop Thrawn because he's going to come around the sides because he already figured out how he's going to defeat these guys. He's just going to zip around the sides. He's quick. So I thought, uh-oh, now I split my guys up. I got one on the Quasar and I got one up on the, trying to stop him from going around me and stuff like that, which it did a good job. But if I could have just moved it a little bit more to the left and just like almost rammed him, basically, it would have been better. I would have held him off just a little bit longer for Screed to get up the side of him and then shoot the side out. But it didn't end up that way. And Ben can maneuver like you wouldn't believe. I mean, he's just, wow.
I used to play Jerjerrod.
Yes.
For fun, I would do double ISTs with Jerjerrod. And I think definitely their maneuverability is very strong. You know, you see the Acclimator and the Providence, and they definitely lowered the maneuverability of those ships. So
they did.
To keep things in line. So I think that, like, the Empire definitely has a lot of strengths and ability that still keep them in the game, especially compared to the newer ships.
Yeah, definitely. Which was one thing that we were wondering about was, do the Clone Wars ships actually outmatch the Rebels and the Empire ships? Because we were like, well, all these new ships, they're gonna have all the new stuff, you know?
Right. Well, I mean, if you look at the Victory Star Destroyer, compare that to an Acclimator ride. But I think that's kind of like just one example. You know, it's kind of difficult to tell because of the 1.5 changes coming at the same time.
Right.
You know, I thought that large base ships like the Star Destroyer, which are kind of like really like the strength of the Empire, would really decline. Yes. But I think that there's still a lot of advantages to having a large dice pool that these ships have. Yeah. And I think that there's still a lot of unique things that the factions do. You know, I think like Cham Syndulla or Darth Vader, I think that their effects in a game are so strong that you're going to continue to see those factions going forward.
Good. Well, we're happy to hear that. And it does make sense, like you said, that it's the going forward in time. So it's showing that the Empire is advancing. It's showing that the Rebels, while they are taking ships and whatever they can take.
It's kind of like the prequel movies.
Exactly, yeah. But they're showing that advance.
Everything's all shiny and streamlined in the prequel movies.
Yeah.
And at the end of episode 3, they have to make everything boxy. And,
exactly.
And, you know, just like the old props from the 70s.
Yeah. But no. So we noticed at table 1, there was a screen that was like blocking you guys off from the rest of the event.
A little bit, yeah.
Was that screen there just for the taping of the video, or was that there to protect you guys so that you guys would concentrate more? I mean, what was that screen there for?
That's a good question. I think there was a little bit of that effect of like, oh, we're in this, you know, secluded area, this exclusive top
that's what it seemed like, yeah.
But it was such a huge open venue, this community hall that Alan had rented out. So I think that, you know, the noise and stuff like that, I mean, you could still hear everyone and be a part of that.
Okay.
I think mainly it's for like the award ceremony and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
I'd really like to be able to, after I'm done with the game, go and like observe what else is going on at the tournament, stuff like that. So
yeah.
If there was ever, you know, a trend to like, we need to isolate the top table, I don't think that's really a thing. But we had already figured out, we'd gone through a few different iterations of the streaming setup. So we had already figured out how to kind of like get some nice, like a microphone that only picks up the table versus, you know, everyone else is at the shop that day and stuff like that. So
good.
I don't think that they were a big like influence having those those what do you call them? Like walls, like
walls. You have the screens there, yeah.
Screen, yeah.
So so thanks to Ben's brother-in-law Zach, he actually found your store, and he bought the Urban Planet mat that we play on. And Mercer, because Zach unfortunately lost your store, Mercer located your store again for us, and we saved it, and we just love it.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that store is a great
Yeah.
store. And so, how did you get started making mats? I mean, what made you go, hey, I want to make a mat?
Right. That's a good question. I just saw so many people maybe posting online, really excited about their ships,
Yeah.
and there would be just this huge nasty seam, you know, in the middle of their game, from putting 2 3-foot mats together, or
Yes.
you know, you've got one half which is the Death Star, and the other half which is like Bespin, but like the Death Star is cut in half, and like Bespin is like sticking out of the other side.
Yeah.
The seams don't match up. It's like, and I think people just really like. I really wanted to be able to like feel like I'm playing in one of those iconic battles.
Yeah, you want to immerse yourself, basically make it really feel like you're really there.
Absolutely. I think the thematic things about this game are the things that we really love. You know, like wanting to have Thrawn's ship, the Chimera, and use its ability. I think that this was about November or so, and it took me a little while just to like really kind of do some research, find a good artist, find a good factory, and like think about like, oh, do I really want to do this? And so it took a couple $1,000s of my own money, you know,
right?
It was just a big risk, and you know, having to store the inventory for a period of time. And if you were one of the early adopters of this mat, like shout out to you, because I made it so hard to buy it first. I think I just had a Facebook Marketplace listing for a little bit before I really got the website going, and you know, just trying to do things one step at a time, learning as I went.
That's true.
I think for the design, there's a lot of smarter things that I'm going to do about the rollout.
Cool.
Yeah, so I'm just really looking forward to like this next step, because it's one thing to be able to spend a little money and flip some gaming accessories, but it's like another thing to be able to like provide a service or like really help the community. So I just really wanted to make like the best Star Wars mat that I could, and I'm really glad that it's catching.
The urban one is incredible. I mean, that is so vibrant in colors. I mean, it is an incredible mat. I mean, we have not seen a mat like that at all, and it's durable. I mean, it's made out of great fabric and everything else. I mean, we use that for I don't know how long we've used that, but we've used it for a while, and it's not frayed or anything, or you know, nothing.
So yeah, where's I getting at? Right, the quality of it.
I mean, from the art.
It's so funny because the durability was actually the first thing that I thought of. So you know, I play at a Dragon's Lair in Houston, and most Dragon's Lair have a shop cat. This one has 2 of them. They're very adorable furry creatures, but also very destructive.
Yes.
And so the big mats that they have on the table, you know, they're starting to fray at the ends and stuff like that.
Oh no.
And I'm thinking about these nice, you know, kind of gaming mouse pads that you can get nowadays.
Yeah.
And they have this stitched edge where, you know, it's like very protective, and it's like a pretty high quality. And so I started looking at people who could deliver something like that. And this one turned out really well. I mean, it doesn't add like a bezel or anything at the end of it, but it still adds a lot to it. The other thing was, you know, I had bought, you know, a mat from the store, but, you know, I felt it was like very, very thin, like very flimsy. It's just like 1 millimeter thick of material, and the ones that I produce are 3 millimeters thick. The downside is it makes them kind of heavy. They're like 7 pounds when you roll them up. But I think that the durability, it's just going to be like, like a lifetime or something like that, just because you have enough room in the material. They have a what do you call it? Like a bezel, like a textured edge on the back. So it's like a non-stick kind of
right, so it
material.
won't slide or anything like that. Yeah.
Right. And I think it's just like so important. When I first got into this game, I was just so excited. I just bought a piece of broadcloth from Hobby Lobby and just tried to play on like a kitchen table, and it's like sliding around and like getting folded over.
Yeah.
And so I just want to be like to have a better experience out of it. And yeah, so that I know it has a like a rubber, like a neoprene kind of material in the base, and it is a fabric. I believe that the way that they do the printing is it's like heat based, so I think that's what kind of gives it those nice colors. What I have noticed is like for like the space parts of the texture, they print black ink in there with the stars, like the little star field pattern.
Oh, wow.
So I think that's really kind of what makes the pop, because I'm comparing it to these other Starfield mats that I have.
Yes.
And they just kind of look gray. They're just kind of like this bluish gray, which I mean is fine if you're going for like this nebula kind of thing.
Right.
But I think really important to have that contrast. So I was very impressed with the way that it came out from factory too. I mean, I went through a lot of effort to commission, a talented artist who was capable of producing something that would print it at 300 DPI. And
well, you did right. You did very good. That was a great artist. So I hope you keep that person on your retainer or something.
So right. Well, I'm going to be reaching out to them, as our Kickstarter continues.
Right.
We'll definitely do that. And so it's important to me that I just like kind of on an ethical kind of that I pay these people like I don't know, a worthy amount for their effort. I'm doing this for personal reasons, but also it's commercial. I'm selling them. So I think it's important that they share in the profit as well, because without people who are more talented at art than I am, we wouldn't be able to have this. So
I mean, it's beautiful. They outdone themselves.
Right. I mean, I could have just, ripped something from like, a desktop background from somewhere and thrown it on a mat. But I really wanted to do something that was higher quality. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot more that I could talk about it, but I'll just leave it there.
You did great. I mean, it's great. So you started talking about the Kickstarter. What can you tell us about it? I mean, what are you planning on with the Kickstarter?
Well, sure. Like I said, I was really personally funded at the beginning for this first production run.
Yes.
But I want to make sure that the next one is successful because there's two things. One is some people want different things, like a general starfield instead of a planet, or they want like a different location. And if I spend a lot of my personal money like on the wrong thing, then it's not going to work out for anyone. And the second thing is I want to share a bit of it with the community. My current funding goal is $1,500. Yeah, I think it costs a little bit more than that, just because of like
production
shipping nowadays and
everything else.
Yeah. So I want some of that load, not just to be on myself, but to be able to have everyone participate in it too.
Well, that's great.
It's also nice to be able to do pre-sales in a way, just because, I can make sure that I get it to those people like as fast as possible. It took me a little while to, get the store spun up and stuff like that. So through the Kickstarter, I can already have that shipping information ready to go.
Now you have a metal tool that you're putting up there as a the $40 plus, and many people, our viewers, have been asking, what is it though? I mean, they want to know more about it. So
sure. let me see if I can draw a SketchUp real quick.
Sure. Oh, great.
Let's do this live. Why not?
Okay.
So when you look at most of these measuring tools right now,
Yes.
I like them, but there's some room for improvement. So let's see here. Cool. So usually you will have something like this, and then okay, so it's like kind of an L shape.
Yes.
To where you can a quarter marker or something like that, and then it will have two teeth in here, which would connect into the base of the model at the front, the same place that you'd use your maneuver tool.
Yeah.
Some of them are pretty fancy, where they might have they're like shaped like a number one, where they'll have like this distance here is the same as distance one, so you can use it as a measuring tool as well. So the one that I've seen in the past that I haven't seen replicated, I thought was really interesting. So it looks kind of like, it's like trapezoid shape. It's like
trapezoid. Okay.
It's like 3 different rectangles here.
Oh, okay.
So how you would use this is you would, for like a small base ship, like this would be the base of the ship. It hooks in the rear, in between the 2 pegs. So usually when you need to square something off, you're ramming each other, right? You're like really going at each other.
Yeah.
You have them, they're going face to face.
Yeah.
So it can be kind of difficult to hook something that goes into the same pegs as the maneuver tool. Someone's trying to use their maneuver tool and it's overlapping your pegs. So I think being able to hold it down from behind, you can put your hand, over the rear section, and you are able to keep this in place, and you're not just gripping the plastic base of the ship by 1 point on the tool. You've got 2 points, on the rear. So that's kind of the idea. And then what we could do with this is the rear, which is the width of, to fit inside of a large base.
Right.
This would be maybe a close range measurement tool, or a distance 1 to 3 measurement tool.
Nice.
I forget what the kind of baseline is, but I want to. It's something that once I have the CAD drawings in a place where I like them, and I've done a couple of samples, that's something that we could deliver pretty quickly to our backers. With this, you'll notice like, wow, this is like a much bigger area. It's like, do I really want this tool? It's so much larger. I think that there's a really good opportunity for us to do some laser engraving, something special just for the people who are backers.
Nice.
So it's something I don't think I communicated very well. Whenever I was like in such a rush to write up the reward tiers and things like that. So this is just the general idea of what we got going on. It's easier for me to I'm a visual learner, so it's easier for me to speak through pictures than.
I think that did great right there. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, that was awesome. Yeah, I think that's gonna be great. So cool.
Yeah, and then
it's gonna help a lot of people out who see this too. They're gonna be like, "That's what he's talking. Okay, great. That's what he's talking about."
Right. Well, I'm hoping you have the ability to kind of give little announcements to your backers and post updates on the Kickstarter as it's going along. So I really want, maybe in the next 2 weeks, if I get a sample, then we can post an update and say, "Hey guys, this is what you're missing out on."
Yeah. Right. I mean, it's only 40. Come on, just 40 more. $40.
Well, yeah, I wanted the just kind of steer people towards the mat. Obviously they're gonna have the chance to vote on what they want. Having the maneuver tool, the measuring tool is kind of a prestige option, but there's also a all-in-one kind of thing. So instead of selling it for 40, I'm going to sell it for 30 plus. Give you some of those Urban Planet postcards that we're printing.
Yeah,
and true. As a little extra thank you So instead of like 40, it's 30 when you bundle it with the bat. So
Oh, that's cool.
and
That's
it's nice
great,
because I should be able to ship them together. They should be able to fit inside the same package, and
That's
that'll
awesome.
be nice. Yep.
Now you talked about the voting on the different mats. Do you have several mat ideas in your head that you want to do,
absolutely. Well,
or do you want people to come up with their own?
No, I think it's going to be a multiple choice kind of thing. It's just going to be 3 questions, maybe 5 questions. The first 3 are, what is your first, second, and third choice for a locale to be featured? And it's just going to be a list of every planet that we've seen, in the Rebellion in the Rim and the Corellian conflict. These planets that we know from Star Wars lore. The planets of our solar system. I think that it would be a really fun idea to have a planet
that would
Earth
be cool.
or Mars, personally. Little Elon Musk kind of thing.
Yeah.
And a couple of other fandoms. There is a tabletop. There's a tabletop game for Star Trek, and there's a homebrew for Battlestar Galactica out there.
Oh, nice.
I don't predict that many people would be able be interested in that. I'm mainly in the Armada community, but if there's some crossover and if people want it, then I want to be able to provide it.
Well, yeah, crossover.
So it's going to be kind of like that.
Yeah, crossover. Ben loves Star Trek. That's the number 1.
Oh, okay. Well, great.
So, and then number 2 is Star Wars, and he's like, oh yeah, but so yeah, he might be tempted, but his vote and my vote right now so far, we'll tell you.
You have 3 choices. You have 3 choices.
Scarab.
Yeah.
Or you were a shield station, I called it, because I wasn't sure if you could actually call it.
I've heard a lot.
Or not, but
I don't know. Yeah, what I would call a shield ring planet.
Yeah, something like that.
We'll have to workship the name a little bit.
Right.
But I hear a lot of Scarif. I also hear a lot of Hoth. To be honest, Empire Strikes Back is my personal favorite.
Yeah, it is one of the best.
And so I think it's like really fun to be able to, maybe I could design it so it would work out really, really well for a blockade run objective where it's like sideways.
Yeah, yeah.
But
that would be cool.
So it kind of leads me into the other 2 questions that are in there. So one of the kind of stumbling blocks that we ran into with our first production run was that with some of our mats on the 6-foot edge, they're a little bit short by about like 3/4 of an inch.
Okay.
Which, I mean, when you're going over 6 feet, there's going to be some that are a little extra, and there's some going to be that are a little not.
Yeah.
And that just came down to kind of what I provided to the factory and converting, trying to get a nice round number to them and stuff. And so what I'm thinking is, when we're talking about the tournament scene really picking up, and we've talked already so much about how it's important to have very precise maneuvers, I think it would be a really good idea to have a much larger area than 3 by 6 feet. Maybe that's 3.5 by 6.5. I know other tabletop games use 6 by 4.
Right.
But I want to be able to have a bigger size mat, but then also like print as part of the image the outline of a 3 by 6 rectangle, and maybe even put in marks for the deployment zones, because I think that it'll help you with setup go a lot quicker.
Right.
It's something we have online with Vassal and Tabletop Simulator. I think people should bring that to the table as well.
Yeah. True.
But it just completely eliminates any of that discrepancy that would happen with the normal manufacturing. You see that with the FFG mats too. You'll put 2 3 by 3 FFG mats, and neither of them are 3 by 3.
No, they're not. They're not.
So and there's little things like the rounded corners of the mat. I pushed really hard to make them as square as possible, but you just cannot have a 90-degree corner. No. And I don't think it's ever happened where somebody's gone off the edge in in exactly the corner, kind of like the DVD screensaver logo right into the corner. But if it's printed on there, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about going off or on.
That's a great idea.
I think, yeah. So it's something I want to pitch to the backers, because if one of them has a recessed gaming table, a table that's exactly 3 by 6 foot, that's their kitchen table, it's their only one, I don't want to print something that's not going to work for them.
Yes.
And I think I have to be really like to the stakeholders. So
oh wow, that's great.
That's just my thought process on it. And so that's about the 5 questions that we would get. These are like what are your top 3 choices, dimensions, and stuff like that.
Oh, that's awesome, man. I mean, that's great. Yeah, I just can't wait for this. I really can't.
I mean, it's already going by so quickly. I think at the time of the recording, we've got 20 days left, and we're about 10% of our goal. You know, my heart's racing.
Oh, I bet.
But you know, it's just a matter of making sure that people know. So I appreciate what you're doing as well.
Oh, no problem. Anything we can do to help, because I know a lot of people have been really interested. They've ever since they've seen the urban map that Ben and I play on. They're like, wow, you know, is that really that vivid? And we're like, yeah, no, it really is. You should see it in person. It's even more vivid in person. You know, it's like, wow. And then I know that you went to Texas Open and you had a bunch out there. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
And this, I've got this really bright kind of white light contrasting. So there you go. I just want to shoot. I went back and forth with the artist so much on like the lens flare in the picture, and I just think it turned out really well.
It did.
You know, I wanted to be able to kind of have that little scientific effect of like refraction in the atmosphere.
Oh, you did. You got it.
Yeah, so we looked at some like photos from like NASA and stuff like that.
Yeah.
To get some inspiration. I think it turned out really well.
No, I did great. I mean, and the artist you got, like I said, hold on to that person because they're great. So whoever it is, I mean, they did a great job. So is there any...
unfortunately, he's not on social media, or else I'd really give him a shout out. But it's just how it is.
Well, some artists don't want to be, you know. Maybe they have a good enough base and they don't need to be, you know. But or they just want to be, you know, to themselves. You know, they do it for different reasons. So, is there anything else you'd like to talk about, especially about your store or anything else that's coming up, maybe in the future?
Right.
Well, or even tournaments that you're gonna go to?
Yeah, I want to talk about tournaments. Just a couple of things. The first off is, you know, we're already have our next tournament on the horizon.
Yep.
You know, TXO and LFO were part of a series, and so Warzone Houston is going to be the next big event. A 3-round event with a cut and a special narrative campaign, which I'm pretty excited about.
Oh, good. It's gonna be a narrative campaign.
Yes, based on you know, your performance in the previous 2, as well as the Warzone tournament. You know, it lends points to your faction. Big battle on the second day of the tournament. So if you don't make the cut, or if you'd rather play in the narrative, like, it's a cool option that some people from Mercury Fleet Command, they've been working really hard on the event, so it's worth it. It's worth a trip down. The next kind of little project I have on the horizon, you know, is with Tabletop Simulator. You know, you can have a 1v1 or a 2v2 match, maybe at one table. But I'm working with Valadian on creating a sort of like a store tournament kind of build, where there are about 4 or 5 tables that are together in the same instance. You know, I really like what you guys have started doing as far as like the ESPN, you know, kind of commentary. Imagine kind of doing that virtually, where you're overlooking, you know, this live tournament. You know, because I've how should I say, like, managed or like been tournament officer, like run one or two of these online tournaments, and I think that, you know, compared to a live event where you all show up at the same day, it's a lot more difficult with, you know, kind of making sure everyone's in the right time zone and everyone's together.
Gotcha.
And so you get people that drop, and, you know, life happens and stuff. So I would really love to see live online, whether that's with Vassal or Tabletop Simulator. I think that would be really cool as a fun way to get people together.
That'd be really cool. I played Tabletop Simulator once with James Irish Madcat, and he was teaching me it because I was wanting to learn about the system, and it was a pretty incredible. And I've seen some online Vassal stuff. I have not tried that yet, but they also look pretty good too. So
Yeah, I mean, it's just whichever your preference is, like 2D or 3D.
yeah.
Yeah, you have to buy Tabletop Simulator. It goes on sale so often. It's maybe $10 or $20, but I mean, it just opens up like all these other different games that you can play.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
So that's I kind of prefer Tabletop Simulator myself.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Have you had a chance to try Vassal or?
No, I've not had a chance yet. But no, Tabletop Simulator I had like from a long time ago. Well, I think when it first came out.
It's one of those like classic. Yeah, it's one of those like classic games. I mean,
yeah.
You can get it through the Humble Bundle. You can get it on the Steam Summer Sale.
You can do anything too. I mean, you could have a role-playing game on there. You could have a tabletop. Yeah, I mean, you could have a board game on there. Anything. So that's I bought it. I think most of us bought it actually around here. So we're trying to get Ben into it.
Fair enough.
It's kind of like, okay, Ben, get away from the table, get onto the computer, and play it. We know you have the technology. You can do it. You can do it. But he's like,
oh, well, that is such a huge thing, though.
It is.
You know, I was doing some poll questions before I started like really investing in the mat. Just kind of like asking people, where do you play Armada?
Right.
Do you play it online? Do you play it at the local game store? Or do you play it at home? And I thought that the online community was fairly large, but there was just a huge respondent of people who were like, no, I play this game at home. Like, you know, we clear off this table and I play with my family member. I've got my son and my daughter that I've taught how to play. And I thought that was just so huge. I didn't realize that you know, it was such a like a domestic kind of thing.
Right.
I thought that so many people, I was really worried, no one would want to buy my mat because they could just borrow one for free at the store, or they only play online. So I thought that was really crazy.
Yeah, well, I know that our preference, our number one, is to play with the models, you know, at the table, whether it be at a store or at the house and stuff like that. We bring our own mat though. We don't borrow the free one.
Fair enough.
But
no, so, 3x6 is such an odd size.
It is.
I've learned. It is. All the other games kind of use different sizes. It's pretty crazy to me.
But the stores around here are actually been doing pretty good about buying the mats too. And so you know it could be good for them too. So especially if they're very durable, because they use so many people use it for so many things, of course. You know.
Right. That's kind of my next step. It's kind of difficult for me. To get shipping packages for this like, imagine, you know, a 3-foot long, 4-inch wide, you know, not cone, cylinder, and you've got to mail that somewhere. So I went through a few different iterations on my packaging, but I don't have a nice, shiny kind of retail package. I really want to be able to have something that people can, like, when they buy the mat, they have this cardboard box that they can open and close and has a handle that would like support the weight. I don't know, but it's just an idea. I'm still kind of working on it. So my next step is to be able to sell it like to a game store, because man, it is like $100 to send this thing to Europe or to Australia. So if I could just send about a dozen of them at a time, the shipping goes way down per unit. And so I mean, whenever I'm ready for that, you know, if people have recommendations on a good store to play Armada, you know, I'd love to get in contact. I think that's kind of like the only other thing I'm really working on right now as far as the future goes.
Yeah, I think right now with everything just opening up and all the tournaments opening up and stuff like that, I think that's when we'll see a rise in stores actually having tournaments in them, or little games at least in them. Unfortunately, right now it's kind of difficult to tell, but
I know who knows what the future holds.
Exactly, right? Yeah. So, but a lot of people are playing from at the home and stuff like that. So, and your mats fit on just about every table. So,
Yeah, I think
and that's
so.
great. And it's great, like you said, it's not two mats because you don't get that little thing in the middle where you're like trying to balance and one's a little
Yeah.
bit small than the other. Or, I mean, we had some mats like that at first, and one was small and the other, so we had to go, wait a minute. Are you going off the edge because you go in the middle and the other mat's
Uh,
smaller?
I will tell you the
It's like,
worst experience that I've ever had playing Armada was one day all of the tables were full of Warhammer players at the game store. So we had to use two different, those like plastic picnic kind of tables, you
yes.
know what I mean?
Yep.
And so they're like 2.5 feet wide. Okay, so we put two of them together.
Yep.
And so now we're like 5 feet apart away from each other, trying to play Armada. And the only mats that they had were the Magic the card game mats.
Oh.
So they've got like pictures of dragons
yes.
and like wizards and stuff on them. And we had to sandwich them, but we couldn't put them in the crack, so they were like off center. And it was just like the most loud, obnoxious texture that we were trying to play on. Like I couldn't even tell where some of the squadrons were. So
really?
that was, I mean, it was just like,
wow.
He was playing a rebel list, and the rebel squadron plastic is kind of this tannish gray.
Yeah.
And so it's just like really kind of like blending in with like the colors of it. It was so funny. So I was like, okay, I'm never doing that again.
So he had cloaking ships, basically. He got the cloaking technology then.
Right. I mean, I think it would be really fun if they had cloaking technology in Armada. Something where, like, when you deploy, you lay down the ship base, and then you just, like, as the battle goes on, you just write down, okay, I'm going to do a 0-1-0 click maneuver. And then, on turn 3, you just, like, and, like, place it down. I think that would be kind of cool.
That's a great idea, because I know there's some ships in the lore that actually go cloak and stuff like that, so you can actually use that.
Right. I think they had. I know people were talking about. Oh, I want the carry-on spike as like as a cool idea. Yeah. And I believe they kind of lightly introduced it in Clone Wars. They had a special cloaking, very small ship. So I don't know. I have lots of little ideas about things that I wanted to do, and a lot of that I think would be cool. And so this making mats is kind of like a vehicle for that in a way.
Mats are needed. I mean, they're great and they're really wonderful. I mean,
they
really
are starting off with the small stuff first.
Right? Start with the base, literally.
Right. I mean,
so start with what we really need.
Yeah, everything stands on that.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's great. No, that's some great stuff there, Rob. You're doing a great job.
I appreciate it.
And we appreciate you. I mean, the mat that we had in the Texas Open, we saw all those mats there.
Yes.
I mean, I think you had like, I don't know how many you had on any tables over there.
12 exactly.
12 did. Well, yeah.
So
there's
we had
so
20
many
players and a couple of extra. Yeah. Out of all of those 20 plus, only one came out of the factory damaged. So that was like really nice.
Yeah, it is.
Like I have that like good fulfillment rate.
Well, that's good. Well, that's good that company's company's good too. So I mean, if only one came out damaged, that's pretty good. Right. Whew. All right. Was there anything else I'd talk about there, Rob, before we go?
No, I mean, I think that's it. I don't want to make your video too long or make you have to cut out too much.
So no, don't worry. I don't do the cutting. Ben has to do the cutting, not me.
Oh, good. Okay, then I'll keep going.
Okay, then go ahead.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, yeah. I just want to say, like, I've never been involved in like a tabletop community before. Armada was my first game.
Really?
And, I had all these trepidations about the stigma of this this 40K player that's like very pedantic and like very obnoxious. And I just have to say, like, the Armada community has been like the nicest. They're always so patient with me when I'm taking forever to move my ships and stuff like that. And,
they are incredible. They really are incredible community. Yeah. And actually, I think Texas Open, they had like the best sportsman award there. Yeah. And That was really awesome. I think, well, good. Somebody's recognizing that there are players out there that are really good sportsmen, and yeah, let's recognize them. And the community's just been so great. I mean, we had subscribers putting in subscriber lists and stuff like that, and they've been really helping Ben out, for instance, going to the tournament and stuff like that with some good ideas, and not just like saying get rid of that. No, they're like being nice and helpful. And he's talked to a lot of people, and it's even everybody there that he met the LSO. All of you guys. I mean, he wanted more time to talk to you, but unfortunately, you guys are both were pressed for time.
yeah. I think we're both the kind of players that tend to go towards the end of time.
Yeah.
So yeah,
but that was good.
So yeah, I mean, it's just like, I mean, thank you, Armada players, for being awesome.
Yes, dude. Thank you, Armada players. Yes. So, and thank you, Rob, for everything you do. And guys, if you want to talk to Rob, he's on the Star Wars Armada Discord, and it's InRobWeTrust, and we do trust him because Rob's very trustful.
Or go to imperialstar.shop and send a message to the chat bot. I will get it.
Yeah, there you go.
And that's about it.
Okay, great. All right, well, thank you again, Rob. And everybody, have a good day. Dismissed.